Thank you very much, Mr Acting Deputy President. And I come to this debate with a great deal of cynicism from the argument on the other side. It's the height of hypocrisy, I feel, for a Labor senator to be putting an MPI accusing the coalition government of not acknowledging the urgency of the crisis in the auto industry. And you did talk of Christmas, Senator Gallagher. Senator Gallagher, you talked of Father Christmas. Well, why don't you, perhaps you could dress up the former Minister for Manufacturing, Senator Carr, and take him out to Elizabeth and get him to spray some more money around like confetti. Now, as you well know, on September the 7th of this year, the Australian people and the South Australian people voted in a majority to change the government, to stop this recklessness and to approach industry and manufacturing in a way in which you could methodical and credible. So that's why the Productivity Commission has been asked to report on this valuable industry. And as a South Australian senator, I know firsthand how important an auto industry is to Australia, and Holden is to South Australia and the northern suburbs of Adelaide in particular. The latest report, completed by the Workplace Innovation and Social Research Centre at the University of Adelaide, suggests the closure would be $1.2 billion and 13,200 jobs. And so I understand that's why we've got the Productivity Commission involved, to try and protect those jobs, to do something meaningful about and put a plan down for the longevity, and not just what you—
Order. Senator Edwards, resume your seat. I remind senators on my left that senators have the right to be heard in silence. Senator Edwards. Order.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Acting
Edwards,
Deputy.
resume your seat. Senator Cameron, I've just pointed out that senators have the right to be heard in silence. Senator Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President. Labor have been in government for the past 6 years, and we've seen thousands of jobs lost in all sectors of manufacturing, not just to the auto industry. You should stay here, Senator Gallagher. You understand the fact that I know it's hard for you to stomach that all those jobs have been lost.
Senator Edwards, I'll remind you to address your remarks through the chair.
Thank you very much. In 2005, Holden employed 5,700 people at Elizabeth, working 3 shifts a day. Today, Holden's workforce has shrunk to 1,700, working a single shift. That's 4,000 jobs lost since the Abbott-Costello government. Labor threw $215 million at Holden at the start of 2012, and the member for Wakefield, Mr Champion, claimed that this would secure the future of Holden and its workers until 2022. He sent it out in his postal vote application note for the upcoming election in September of just gone, saying that he and the Labor Party had secured the future of Holden until 2022. What a blatant misrepresentation. This claim by the member for Wakefield and the former Labor government ripped at the heart of 400 workers and their families who believed it, but then found themselves out of work early in 2013. All of this added to the 170 workers who were laid off before Christmas in 2012. These figures are made worse given the backdrop of unemployment in the northern Adelaide suburbs of 7% and youth unemployment, which, as the Leader of the Opposition in this chamber would know, is a whopping 40.2% in that region. Again, a crisis Mr Champion and the former Labor government created. And while on one hand Labor threw money at Holden, they took it with the other. Labor's proposed changes to the fringe benefits tax would have seen $1.8 billion ripped out of the industry. After the FBT changes were announced, sales of new cars came to a standstill. I remember taking calls from the Holden dealers in Adelaide. wringing their hands with disbelief that a government that claimed to be pro-industry could overlay such a poor policy in terms of growth. An analysis by the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industry showed that there was likely to be a 10% slump in overall new car sales in Australia as a direct consequence of the FBT changes, as well as almost 20% decline in sales of vehicles made locally by Toyota, Holden and Ford. All of this, Mr Acting Deputy President, all of this to fill a budget shortfall at Labor's chaotic budget mess, which was going to be filled by the loss of more manufacturing jobs in South Australia and Australia generally. Up to 550,000 individuals and their families would have been affected by this tax policy move by Labor, and again Labor's member for Wakefield, Nick Champion, went one step further, audaciously labelling those South Australians who accessed the fringe benefits tax as tax dodgers. People like nurses, firemen, policemen. These reckless tax changes would have seen many people pay more in tax, and in some cases up to $1,400 a year more, at a time when Labor allowed the cost of living to soar. The Australian government is now committed to the auto industry and have swiftly taken action to assist the industry to make it more competitive with strong policy settings. We've announced that we will abandon that Labor's FBT changes, leaving $1.8 billion in the pockets of Australians and the auto industry. And secondly, we will move quickly in this government to write legislation to repeal this carbon tax, which we saw earlier today. The carbon tax on car manufacturing increased sector costs by over $460 million and was acting as a reverse tariff. Mr Acting Deputy President.
Order. The time for the discussion has expired. The question is that the motion by Senator Carr be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. Noes have it. Division required.